Hello, folks. Thank you for tuning in today to the Do It Movement podcast. This is your host, Martine Jackson, and I have today on the show Brian Trippe. Now, he has the largest real estate investing association in Alabama, all the way from Birmingham, Alabama. Welcome to the show, Brian Trippe.
I'm honored to be here. I love your energy. This is firing me up. I'm ready to go.
This is gonna be good because when I'm doing the podcast, usually because there's no video, I'm writing down things. I may have a question I'm reading, so if I'm looking over, that's why. I want to make sure I don't miss anything. So, how's life been treating you, Brian?
It's good. I don't know when this is coming out, but we got Christmas around the corner.
Right.
My son and I share a birthday that's coming up.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool. So we've got that. We had a lot of people over at the house celebrating birthday, and just it's the holiday season, so it's all about family for us, and just trying to limit work as much as I can.
Yeah, I have a cousin that her birthday is the same day as her mom's. And well, we're old now. Your son's probably still young, but we're like almost 30. And anyway, she just expects to hang out with her mom on her birthday, right? But as she got older, her mom stopped wanting to hang out with her. So her mom's like, "Oh no, I'm going to the spa. See you later." And I'm like, "Dang, your old mom ditched you for your birthday?"
I would think it would be the other way around.
Right. It probably was like that when she was a teenager. She probably ditched her mom, and now it's full circle. Her mom's like, "Oh, I'm gone. I'll see you later."
That's funny.
Go ahead.
My little boy's about to turn 2, so I can hold him hostage for a little while.
Okay, cool. Alrighty, so I'm not sure if you remember me telling you this, but you're the reason that I have a real estate meetup in Richmond because we had that Wholesale and Inc. conference, and Tom kept saying, "Take one thing and do it when you get home." And I'm like, what am I going to pick? And then you said something about the meetup, and someone had actually mentioned it to me. They were like, "Oh, you should start a meetup." And I was like, I never even thought about that before. Like, I've always thought about going to other people's, but starting my own, I hadn't thought about it. So anyway, I'm an action taker. So when I heard you talk about it, I was like, oh, we're going to start it next month. Like, let's make it happen. So I started it, and it's opened so many opportunities for me. People I did it so people could learn. Of course, a lot of people asked me, could I mentor them? And I'm not at the point where I would want to mentor right now, to be honest. I want to focus on getting my business to the level that I want it. So I kind of used it as an answer for that. Like, oh, we'll come to the meetup. We'll answer any question that you have. And we started off doing it like that. But then when people would get deals, they'd bring me deals. People started offering me money for properties. I was like, man, I should have started this a long time ago. What was I thinking? So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
That's awesome. It's so cool to hear that. I think when that was January of 2018, and I did it. I started a meetup, and it opened up a lot of doors. And a lot of people think that they have to be like doing a ton of volume. They have to be in the business for a long period of time. They have to have all the answers.
Right.
And none of that's true. There's a guy in our local area who started a meetup, and he's never even done a deal. Just because it does, when you're at the front of the room or you're the leader of something, it's a natural phenomenon where people want to come do business. It gives you natural authority,
right?
And people want to come do business with you. So I'm proud of you. I'm excited to hear all that. That's awesome.
That's awesome. And then also from the last one, you told us to read, you told us a lot of stuff, but what I took from it was to read the 7 levels of communication. And the book is amazing. I'm so glad you recommended that book. I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. Why didn't I read this a long time ago?
Yeah, it's the best book on networking that I have found until my book on networking comes out.
Oh, okay.
But I'm, in fairness, I'm going to compile a lot of stuff and give credit to, people. But I'm just of the opinion that most people don't know how to network. They don't know how to utilize their network for their benefit and to help benefit others.
Right.
And that's the best. Michael Mayer, he actually just came and spoke in Birmingham. I just got to meet him about a week ago. And
I know I saw that post on Instagram.
Yeah, and he's got some phenomenal stuff. That book, 7 Levels of Communication, is a big time game changer for sure.
Oh, that's awesome. It is a big game changer. I read the book and I was like, man, I want to coach. It's awesome. When does your book come out?
So I wrote a book called Nothing's for Sale. I wrote that book. It came out in the second edition, the main edition that's out on Amazon now. It came out in July.
Right.
I'm writing another book right now.
Okay.
And it's probably going to be called something like Networking Like a Ninja. we're playing with the title. I got that domain, so that was kind of cool.
Okay.
So it's going to be something like that. I'm writing it probably a year. It'll probably come out early 2020.
So you're giving us an exclusive right now that we know it's coming out in 2020.
That's right. It's about a year away. Yeah.
Okay, cool. You guys make sure you mark your calendars.
Mark your calendars.
Okay, cool. So what we wanted to talk about today on this podcast is just networking to increase your business. It seems like you've become a pro at this. Just the suggestions you've given me has helped increase my networking ability to expand my business in that way. And I hadn't even thought of doing that before. I was always just thinking about marketing and stuff like that. And this just is a way better approach because it's built on relationships.
Well, it's a form of marketing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that networking it can actually be a form of marketing. I mentioned it earlier that most people don't even know how to network. And what I mean by that is a lot of people are kind of tricked. They think that when they hear networking, they think, oh, well, I got to go out. I heard Cody Hoffine say this. I know a Wholesaling Inc. guy that, it's called network, not net sit. You got to actually go out and work. and I agree with that to an extent, but it's really, I think a lot of people kind of confuse it with actually getting out there and working and hustling and you can do that. But what I think that when I think of networking and I think of all the different ways I've been able to get the most out of my relationships with people is by providing value to people. Let's just take you, Martine, you're a perfect example that I just provided you value. I just said, hey, you know what? I started a meetup and here's how I did it. And here's what the benefits I got from it. Maybe you could do something like that. I read this book. Here's some of the benefits I got from it. Maybe you can read it and maybe you can get some benefits from it as well.
Right.
So I'm providing you with value. That's a form of networking. Now I'm on your podcast. I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe someone's going to watch this or listen to this podcast and maybe go buy a book that I read. Maybe they're going to go and, hey, you know what, Brian, I want to start a meetup. Show me how to do that. Maybe I can provide value to more people. So networking is providing value first.
Right.
And not trying to ask what you can get from somebody. I'm never going to ask, how can this person, if they're doing this, how can I get something from them? That's not really what it's about. It's really thinking the opposite. If there's someone out there, let's just say a Cody Hoffine or a Tom Kroll, there's somebody out there that I want in my sphere of influence.
Right.
I want to get around those people. The question is not what can they do for me, but how can I provide them value? What do I have to offer this particular person that I want in my network? How can I offer them value first? And then you never know what's going to happen. Like for me and Tom Kroll, we're in business together. All because I was intentional about trying to network with him and trying to provide value to him.
Right. And you're pretty much preaching what you already practice. Cause I know afterward when everybody was talking, just going up to talk to people, and I was just coming up to you to say thank you for the stuff that you had already provided. And you said, well, how can I help you today? And I'm like, dang, you've already helped a lot. So I thought that was awesome.
So, Martine, it's the law of reciprocity. And what that means is providing value to someone first without the expectation of receiving anything in return. If you can give it, Gary Vaynerchuk, who I follow, and I think maybe a lot of people that listen to this probably follow him and know him. He wrote a book called Jab, 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 Right Hook. And what that was about is provide value, give, and then ask. All the giving gives you equity, builds up equity with that person. And then if there is a true need that you have, then you can ask them without feeling like, slimy or like it's what's in it for me. It's just give first. And you've built up that equity.
Right.
And when you do ask someone for something, like if I were to ask you to go buy my book for $10 or $8 on Amazon right now, if I've given you so much value, it's like, I have to go buy his book. I have to go spend $8. I mean, he's giving me, excuse me, he's definitely giving me $8 worth of value. I'm definitely going to go buy his book. It's almost like guilted people in to doing things for you, but kind of in a way. And here's the thing though, not everybody is going to do something in return, and that's fine. You can't have an expectation that they're going to do that. You have to just give without that expectation of receiving anything back.
Right. That's so true. So I know we're talking about networking and giving and how that is helping you in your business, but I guess let's just take it back a step. How did you even get started in real estate? What made you want to get in real estate?
Yeah, good question. So I'm a product of a big seminar company. Okay. I went to a seminar and I bought into their program. I can say a lot of good things about it. I can say a lot of bad things about it. I didn't have a specific mentor. I think that was something that they were lacking, a local mentor. I'm a big believer in the local model. So I love what you're doing, Martine, with your meetup group. It's a local meetup group. You're talking about local real estate. You're not talking about real estate in LA or Chicago. You're talking about it right there in Richmond. And that's why I think it's really awesome what you do. People are attracted to that. So I got started by going to a seminar. I had to do a lot on my own. They gave me a lot of theory, but I had to actually learn real estate on my own. The actionable stuff. So I just went out, started making calls, and was calling buyers and sellers, and just hustled. 45 days after I attended a seminar, I did my first wholesale deal. I made $10,000.
That's awesome.
2012. So we're coming up on 7 years ago that happened. And from there, I just hustled. I just worked. I think in the beginning, people have to hustle. I think you can build a business, and you can build a business that can run mostly without you or completely without you. But I think what gets lost with a lot of people, you just have to work hard in the beginning, because you got to build that up. You got to, in the beginning, cash is king. You need to build up a cash reserve and actually learn the business before you start teaching it to other people, like you were mentioning earlier. So that's how I got my start. Started wholesaling. I built a wholesaling company right here in Birmingham, Alabama. Became one of the bigger wholesalers in our local area. Once I got that kind of rolling, I started buying passive income, because I think that wholesaling is great, but it's a transactional business.
Right.
The money's going to run out. In order to keep making money, you have to do more wholesale transactions.
Right.
So I'm a big believer in passive income, or quote unquote passive income, money, mailbox money. So my whole business model was, I'm going to go and I'm going to wholesale as much as I can, take that revenue and go buy passive income. So I started buying rentals. I have over 70 doors today. I highly encourage other people to start moving towards that. That should be your goal. And then from there, I open a brokerage. I have a real estate brokerage. I started these live real estate events. We have REI Live, Real Estate Investing Live, which is, you mentioned it was the largest real estate investor association in the state of Alabama. We have aspirations to be the largest in the country. And I just have a heart and passion for teaching other people how to do the business. And so I started doing that in January 2017. So we're, going on 2 years now of just teaching other people in our local area. I didn't have a local coach when I started. So I am the local coach to a lot of other people. So that's my heart, my passion. I have a teaching background. I used to coach Division I college basketball. So I love just teaching and educating others where I can help them. So
that's awesome. That's really awesome. You're just taking over Alabama, soon the U.S.
Taking over Alabama. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Okay. So I want to know, what made you want to start up the meetup and, the podcast?
So in the very beginning, the meetup was a product of me just wanting to scratch an itch. I just wanted to teach.
Right.
And so it was actually April 2016 when I started the meetup. It was called Learn Real Estate Investing in Birmingham. And I held it right here in this room. You can't really see the whole room, but right here in this little room, there were 4 people that showed up in my very first meeting. So including me, there were 5 people in the room.
Right.
I was just teaching basic stuff to brand new people that didn't know anything about it. In that very first meeting, someone came up to me and said that they wanted to start buying rentals and they didn't know how to start. And I was like, well, I'll help you. And I actually ended up wholesaling him, started out as one. I ended up wholesaling him 5 rental properties over the course of like a year and helped him build his portfolio and taught him the BRRRR strategy. He used the BRRRR strategy on all those where he bought it, then he rehabbed it, rented it out, refinanced. He used the BRRRR strategy on all of them. So he used the same money from an equity line over and over and over. And I taught him how to do all that.
Right.
And so he had 5 products. That was the beginning of where I started realizing, man, this little meetup I started could actually be something like more than just me trying to scratch an itch. So I ended up going to a conference about how to teach and how to coach real estate investors, how to be a coach. It was called like a coach's coaching event. It was called. It was put on by Joe McCall, which I'm sure you're familiar with, and Sean McCloskey. And they put this on in St. Louis. This was in October of 2016. They both encouraged me. I was getting about 20 people to come to my little meetup that was in my office. I did it on Saturday mornings.
Right.
They encouraged me just to turn it into a full-blown RIA. So I spent the next 2 months really planning it and being strategic about how I could do that. And in January 2017, we launched the RIA. We launched the podcast along with it. And I just was I loved Gary Vaynerchuk at the time. I was a big believer in just putting out content, and putting out just educational videos, training videos. I was giving it all away. I wasn't charging anybody for anything and just giving it all away. And it started leading to more and more business. You mentioned earlier in the beginning of the show that you have private lenders, coming up to you just, hey, I want to fund your deals. You have people come up to you saying, hey, I want to JV with you, or I have a deal. Can you help me find a buyer? All these little things were happening for you. They were happening for me. And I was like, man, what's going on with this? So I kept giving and giving more and more and more. And, a few months later, we started having speakers in. We brought in Joe McCall, came to Birmingham. Guys like Claude Diamond, Sean McCloskey, Tom Kroll ended up coming to Birmingham. We've got in 2019, Cody Hoffine, Brent Daniels. I mean, a lot of guys that are coming to Birmingham to be speakers here. And it's all because I'm just giving stuff away and I'm aligning myself with other people who also have that same kind of heart, just to give as much as you can, because again, it's the law of reciprocity. It will come back to you some way, somehow. And like in your case and in my case, it's been with, I've got all the private funding I could ever want or need. I'm getting, most of our deals are coming from referrals, which is crazy. You think about the real estate business or the wholesaling business, and it's like, how much marketing, what kind of marketing are you doing? How much marketing how much direct mail can we do? How much Facebook ads? How many Google AdWords? How much of this stuff can we do? We're not doing any of it. We are doing some cold calling, but most of our deals are coming from referrals because people want to do business with the guy at the front of the room or the girl at the front of the room. And that's how it all started. And that's how it's continuing to grow.
That's awesome. I remember you telling us the story about your meetup, the first one. And you said you had about 5 or 10 people show up. 4 people show up. And so like I rented a room to get these people for the meetup. And I'm like, I'm doing okay in the business, but nobody's really following me like that. I'm lucky if I get 4 people come. Like, I'm lucky. So I'm expecting this amount of people. We got like 23 people to come to the first one. I was like, where did all of you come from? Like, we had to get a new room because the room was too small. And I'm glad we had to get a new room because that room cost money and the room we have now is free. But it seemed like it was just adding a lot of value to people. And it's like they really wanted something like that. Although we do have a lot of meetups in the Richmond area, a lot of people still showed up, which I was shocked. I was like, man, I was not expecting this.
No. Yeah. And the thing is, when I had 4 people show up, I didn't advertise it. I wasn't intentional about it all. I put it on Meetup. I went to meetup.com and had 4 people show up. When we launched in January, we did a full-blown launch. Like, we did a lot of marketing and we had 75 people show up at our first one. I helped a guy in Arizona. They put on their very first one. They had like 300 show up at their first one. Oh, wow. We've got some that are launching in some other cities. And we're expecting, 100 plus at these, because now I know how to do a launch. Right. In the beginning, I was just, hey, I just want to teach real estate. So come on and show up. And when we were intentional about it, you can get a lot of people there. And the thing is, and I'm sure you notice this, most of the people that come, or a lot of them that come, are new.
Yeah.
They're new and they want to learn. So if you are planning on doing something like this, you need to understand and you need to have a heart and a passion for newer people. Because
Right.
if you don't, if you think you're going to get all experienced people there and work with experienced people, it doesn't always work that way.
Right. Right. Okay, cool. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard that you're an introvert. Is that right?
So I think I've busted out of that. But yeah,
I'm wondering, how did you bust out of it? Because like that would hold a lot of people back from trying to meet a lot of people.
For sure. No, and that's a huge, I think real estate wholesaling in particular, the number one question I get asked is, I don't know what to say to people. I'm scared to talk on the phone. What if they know more than me? It's kind of going along the same lines.
Right.
I'm an introvert, so right. I can't, I'm going to be called out. I'm going to get embarrassed. I don't know what to say. I was such an introvert that I kind of conned or tricked the dean of our college. I conned him into getting me out of speech. So I didn't have to take speech when I was in college because I was so deathly terrified of it. And then the trick was actually on me because I went back to get my master's degree and they made me take speech. But I was a big time introvert, and I definitely have those tendencies when I walk into a room and I don't know anyone or no one knows me. I can still revert back to my old days and kind of clam up a little bit. But you asked the question, how do you get out of that? Or what's the advice that I would give to someone who is an introvert is you have to do it. And there's really no other way around it. I wish there was. You just have to get out there and do it. If you go back and listen to the first keynote I ever gave in January of 2017 at our launch of our RIA, it's on YouTube, and it's on YouTube for a reason. I kept it up there because I go back and watch it, and it's a reminder. I had never spoken in front of more than about 20 people ever. And then we had 75 people show up at our launch. Right. And I'm talking in front of my peers, people that I know and know me, and I feel like they're gonna be judging me and judging what I have to say. If you go back and watch that, I'm just like, I'm holding the microphone and my hand's shaking the whole time. I'm nervous the whole time. Right. So, and now I we just had that latest wholesaling summit in Asheville a couple months ago, and there were 350 people there. And I was a little nervous when I first got up there. But man, once I got going, I was just like, man, I love this. It's such a high. Right. It's just, you have to do it. And I wish there was a better way around it, but you have to get up there and you have to embarrass yourself. And and you're going to embarrass yourself and you're going to mess up, and you just have to do it. I like that, because this is the Do It Movement podcast. Just do it. Be like Nike. Okay, cool. So I know that you talked about it a little bit, but I guess just more specifically, how has networking built your business? Or I guess in your case, giving, because that's how you network. And that's what it is, and that's how it's built it. Not seeing it as networking, when people hear just that phrase or that word, they kind of have negative connotations, or they're like, oh, Brian, I know how to network. I'm going to, go to sleep on you now that you're talking about networking. And it's just being intentional. And that's the biggest thing. Like, I think when a lot of people go to, if there are people listening to this who go to Martine's group, you need to go with a specific agenda. You can't just show up. You can, but you're not going to get the most out of it. You have to come with a specific agenda. You need, if you're a cash buyer and you want to meet, 2 or 3 of the best wholesalers, that needs to be your agenda. If you're a wholesaler and you want to meet 2 or 3 of the best cash buyers, this is what I would do. If I'm brand new to a room, I've never been to a group before, and I walk in the room and I know what I am. Let's say I'm a wholesaler and I want to meet 5 cash buyers that night. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to walk up to the leader of the group. I'm going to walk up to Martine and say, listen, hey, you don't know me. My name's Brian. I just started wholesaling. I've done a couple deals. I'm ready to kind of take my business to the next level. Who is here that you could introduce me to that I need to meet as far as like cash buyers go? Are there any cash buyers in the room? Can you point them out, or can you introduce? The best thing, if Martine's busy, which I know she's going to be, and she doesn't have time to give you a warm introduction, she can just ask her to point out a couple. But really the best way, and I do this at almost anytime I'm new at a meeting, I do this every single time. I do it every time. I just went to see Michael Mayer speak, and a lot of realtors were at that event. And I knew a couple people there, and I asked them specifically, who in this room do you think I should meet?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I do and you know what they do. Who in this room do you think I should meet? And one guy in particular said, oh, well, you should meet this person and this person. And I'm like, do you know them really well? He's like, oh yeah. I'm like, do you mind giving me a warm intro? You mind introducing us? And that's a warm introduction versus a cold introduction where you're just walking up to somebody cold.
Right.
And it still works.
Right.
But what's better is someone giving you a warm introduction. When this person went and introduced me to the people I needed to meet, they're like, hey, you know, this is Brian. He's doing this and this and this. He's killing it. And they're building me up and giving me credibility with the person I need to meet.
Right.
That is how you actually build a business and be intentional with your networking. That's one great tip that I could give.
Okay, that's game changer. That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so you just answered that question. Actually, I was going to actually give us some tips on building our business. You just gave us one.
What kind of business?
Let's just say let's just go with wholesaling.
You want to build a wholesaling business.
Mm-hmm.
You're starting from scratch.
Yeah, let's say you're starting from scratch. You're brand new. You're struggling trying to get a deal because a lot of people listening, that's probably where they are.
So this is what I tell everybody in the beginning. Networking is important. It's probably actually, way, way up there. Mm-hmm. But what's going on between the ears, what's going on with your mindset is going to be far and away the most important thing with any business. And so you've got to get your mindset right first. You have to really, truly believe. Like if you start talking about my story, when I made that $10,000 on my first deal, I'd never made that much money in one chunk ever in my life.
Right.
And so that's game change. You're talking about game changer. That kind of money in one chunk, $10,000. It really doesn't sound like a lot today, but at the time, and for maybe a lot of people listening to this, $10,000 could probably change your situation.
Right.
So that was the kind of money I got a check for $10,000, and it blew me away. Hey, and it gave me confidence.
Right.
Like, hey, and it made me believe that it was real. This wholesaling thing is real.
Right.
So what I would, first of all, you need to believe it. You need to believe that you can do it. And trust me, if I can do this business, anybody can do this business. I'm not joking when I say this. Anybody can do this business. The funny thing about money doesn't discriminate. It doesn't matter what gender you are, what color you are, what your background was. It doesn't matter. I came from a really, really poor background, and I was able to do this. So anyone listening to this definitely can. So what I teach my brand new students is the very first thing, you got to believe it, and then go out, drive around and get to know your market. You've got to get to know. So here's the thing I've learned. People who are broke or people that don't have a whole lot of money, they probably have a lot of time. That's just what it is. You probably have a lot of time. You need to drive your neighborhood. You need to get to know your neighborhood, start right where you live, and just kind of drive in a little circle and get to know your neighborhood. What are the house prices? I would jot down any address of houses that are for sale by owner, that are for rent by owner. And then any kind of distressed situation that you can see, distressed houses. I would write down as many as I can. And I'd write down 500. Right. That's what I would do. I teach people to write down 500. It's going to take you a long time. You're probably going to be able to do in your area, probably 15 to 20 per hour. So that's a lot of time. You're going to jot these down. Go back, look up who owns it. You can find these resources. Martine can probably help you with this. You can go to our YouTube channel. We teach you how to do this for free. Look up who owns it and call them.
Right.
And just call them, say something very, very simple. Like, I was driving in the neighborhood. I noticed that there was a house that appeared to be vacant. I think you own it. Have you ever thought about selling it? Just say something super simple like that. I guarantee out of those 500, you will do a deal. You'll do a deal. It's almost guaranteed. It actually, the only way you won't do a deal is if you don't do it. And here's the thing, Martine, that I learned. Most of the people who are listening to this who have never done a deal, 99 out of 100 of them will not do what I just said.
You're right.
Do it. And I'm challenging. I want to challenge whoever's listening to this right now. I know you're not going to do it. I'm giving you the formula. I'm giving you the key to the kingdom. This is exactly how I would do my very first deal if I was broke, never done a deal. And there are training videos on our YouTube channel, REI Live. Just search REI Live. It shows you exactly how to do this. And if you actually take action in about 2, 3, 4 weeks time, you can make money in wholesaling. I'm actually, Martine, what I'm about to do, I don't know when. I got to carve out the time in my schedule, but this is my idea, and this is what I'm going to do. And probably the first of the year, the first of 2019, I'm going to drive to a city that I don't know anything about. I'm just going to go to a city I know. I'm probably going to go to Memphis, because Memphis is about a 4-hour drive from Birmingham. Probably going to go to Memphis because Memphis is a similar type of market to Birmingham. Drive to the city on a Monday, or get there on a Monday. I'm going to have my car and my laptop, and then probably a guy following me around with a camera, and that's it. My car and a laptop. That's it. And I'm going to stay in a hotel for 5 days. I'm going to do a wholesale deal in less than 5. I'm talking about like get money.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I'm watching it.
And I'm gonna have somebody follow me around with a camera and prove that anybody can do this with all you need is a car and a laptop.
Right.
If you have a car and internet connection, you can make money in real estate. And most people, I don't care if you're living on welfare or you're living on Section 8, you probably have a car and you probably have internet connection. And if you don't, go to a library.
Right.
Right. So I'm gonna have someone follow me around for 5 days. I'm gonna do a deal in a city I don't know anything about, just by doing what I just said right there.
Right. And when I first started real estate, I didn't have a car. I rode my bike. I bummed rides. I caught the bus. I walked, whatever it took to make it happen. And I remember I had met this guy at an auction at a house auction. And I was just talking to people, trying to see how experienced they were, because I was looking for a mentor. I came with an agenda. So once I found out what he was doing, I asked him to be my mentor. And he was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm tired of people wasting my time, blah, 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 right? So anyway, he invited me to his office because he had a deal he wanted to show me. So I looked at the deal and I was like, that's all nice and all, but I really just would like you to be my mentor. What do I have to prove to you that I'm serious? And he was like, well, get 100 vacant houses and then I'll see that you're serious. So I was like, okay. So I called him back later that day, and I was like, well, I got 100 houses. What's next? Because I was so hungry and I wanted to make it happen. And you make a valid point that either if you have to believe in your head that you can do it, because whether you believe you can or you can't, you're probably right. So if you believe that you can, then you can do it. So you make a valid point. I guess I just needed 400 more houses, and I could have got a deal that week. I was a little shy.
500. It was probably 150 to 200 maybe 5 years ago, but it's more like 500 today.
Right.
No, that's all. I love that story. That's a great story, and it just goes to show that anybody can do this business, and I love that story. That's awesome.
Anybody can do it. Like if I could do it when I first started, you can do it. I was broke. I was living at my aunt's house. I barely even had a cell phone, and I've made it happen.
So this is what I see, and one of my kind of father figure type of people that were in my life, that was in my life. I mean, I was the 30-year-old. I'm 30. I'm about to turn 39. I was the 30-year-old living in my dad's basement playing video games until 4 a.m. That was me. That's my story. And it took me, I never really had a father figure, someone that actually tell me like what is discipline? What is hard work? What are these things? I ended up being a part of a basketball team. I mentioned I coach basketball, and there was a guy at UAB, the University of Alabama at Birmingham, when I was kind of a glorified GA there. He wasn't teaching it to me. He was teaching it really to everybody as players. And he said something I'll never forget. And this is so true. And I really want to try to provide value to your audience here, especially if people are listening, they've never done a deal.
Right.
I was so lazy. I was so unbelievably lazy. And Mike Davis, who was the head coach at UAB, said, look, people do not change. You are who you. If you're lazy, you're always going to be lazy. The only way someone can change is if their back is up against the wall. They face some sort of tragedy. And I love your story because your back was up against the wall and you wanted a real change.
Right.
People are comfortable, Martine. People are comfortable even in their bad situation. They're comfortable with it. If somebody's living on Section 8 and they're living, on government assistance with a check coming in every month, that's comfortable.
Right.
I got my check coming in every month. I know this is my circumstance. I'm not going to change it. I'm not going to rock the boat. People with mortgages on their houses, people with car payments, that stuff is written into their budget.
Mm-hmm.
If it's written in your budget, then you know you have to make that payment and you're comfortable with that payment.
Right.
You're comfortable. You've been comfortable with your student loan debt. You're comfortable. There's no reason for you to change. Even if you have all this debt, even if you have all this, you hate your job, you're not going to do anything about it because it's comfortable.
Right.
The only way you're actually going to change is if your back is up against the wall. I had that moment. You are probably going to have that moment because everything there's so much information on YouTube. There's so much information out there. There's so many podcasts. There's so many videos that you could watch where people are showing you exactly how to
right.
and how to make money. Like, it's not rocket science.
Right.
But the reason why 99 out of 100, if not more, won't do it is because they're comfortable.
That is true. That is so true. Because like for me, and I said this on the first episode of my podcast, the real reason I even got into real estate is because I didn't have a job at the time. I lost my car and I said, well, if I get a deal, I can get my car back. So I started going hard to try to get that. And then as I continued, I was like, oh man, I can make some real money doing this. I just kept at it. But my back was against the wall. I was standing in my aunt's house, like it's rock bottom here. So that's some great advice.
And then, your mentor, my mentor says, rock bottom, it is the firmest of foundations.
Right.
So it's not a bad place to be.
Okay. So is there anything that I forgot to mention that you would like to share, I guess, in terms, I know you said, when I asked about networking, you talked about giving and you said give intentionally. I don't know if I asked this question earlier or not, but just like when you say give intentionally, you mean like you're going after, well, guys, you can explain better than I can.
Well, I just said be intentional with your networking. So you need to write down and examine what is it about you? Where are you today?
Right.
Where are you in your business? What do you need? Right now, what is your biggest need? Is your biggest need private money? Is your biggest need, I need a deal? What is your biggest need? And then ask the question, don't ask how, why, ask the question, who?
Mm-hmm.
Who can help get that? Who is the best at that one thing?
Right.
And whoever that is, that person needs to be in your sphere of influence.
Right.
Be in their sphere. And so now the question becomes, how can I be in that? What does that person need? And what valuable asset do I have that I can bring that person? And we all have something.
Right.
And I don't care if you're brand new. So I'm going to tell a quick story, Martine, if that's okay.
Go ahead. So tell it. I like stories.
When I wasn't brand new. When I had a need, I had a specific need. And my need, I was starting this real estate group, and I knew that the best way to grow this group was going to be, I needed the biggest influencer in our town. I wanted him to come to the group. If he comes to the group, then, it's going to give me like social proof. It's going to prove that this is a big deal. People need to be at this group because I've got the biggest and baddest real estate investor in our local area. He's going to be there.
Right.
So how can I get him to be there? I could call him up and I could ask him to come, but that's not really going to motivate him to come.
Mm-hmm.
So here's what I did instead. I'd done some deals. I asked the question, what does he need? What valuable asset do I have that I could give him? What does he need? And I started thinking about this. He's a house flipper. He's a rehabber. He'll do 50, 60, maybe 70 rehabs a year. Tens of millions of dollars in sales every year. What does he need? What could he possibly need? What can I give him? So I just thought of this idea. I'm good with a camera. I'm good with editing video. I'm going to follow this guy around for a day and make like a little documentary about him. It's going to be good for him because it's going to be marketing for him and his business to help him get more deals. And it's going to be good for me because I'm going to put our logo in the corner and I'm going to help attract him to our group.
Right.
So I pitched him this idea. He was super skeptical about it. I'm like, look, I'm going to make you a rock star. You're going to look awesome. And I'm going to make it all about you. It's not going to be really about me. It's going to be about you. And it's going to help you get more deals. I promise you.
Right.
He was skeptical, but he relented. He let me do it. So I rode around with him and I did a 7-part series. There were 10-minute episodes. And I put this out probably in January or February of 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And he, at the end of 2017, he told me, this is about a year ago, he told me that was one of the best things he ever could have done. His business, it exploded that year, and he didn't give me all the credit, and I don't want all the credit because he was doing a lot of volume, period.
Right.
But he credits what I did for him to help give him a good boost.
Mm-hmm. And
that was providing value to someone. I did it for free. I provided value to him. And now he comes to all of our meetings, and people come to our meetings because of, a lot of times because he's going to be there. I highlight him. I prop him up. I give him authority. He already has some, but I give it to him even more, where new people want to go and new wholesalers want to go and work with him and do business with him. I got on his radar because I knew I had a need. And but I didn't just ask him to fulfill my need. I went and provided him value first. And then it was a win-win situation for everybody.
Right. That's awesome. That's way to think, to think about the video. I don't know if I would have thought of that.
But I guess that the reason I said that is because you have a skill.
Right.
Everyone has something that they can provide, and it doesn't necessarily have to be real estate related. And mine wasn't. My major skill was not real estate related. It was marketing. I think that what I'm best at is marketing and branding. So I provided in my skill, and it worked.
Okay, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that story. I appreciate it. So I'm gonna start wrapping this thing up, and so I just want to. I always ask everyone on the podcast, what books are they reading? Because readers are leaders, and I know you're reading something.
Yeah, you want to grab the book I'm reading right now? This is a crazy book.
Yes, because you're already 2 for 2, so I'm getting it.
We're actually today, we do a book club. We do the REI Live book club, and we're actually filming our next one today. So I just got done reading. So I'm into sales a lot. I think that all of life is sales and marketing. All of life. You are trying to sell yourself at the very least, if you don't have a product or service to sell. So all of life is sales and marketing. So the number one game-changing book, this is the Sales Bible. If you're interested in being an influencer, you want to be influential in your market, the best book in the whole world to get is Robert Cialdini. It's a book called Influence. Dr. Robert Cialdini. I'm trying to get him on my podcast, but Dr. Robert Cialdini, he wrote a book called Influence. I highly, highly, highly recommend this if you are doing a podcast like Martine. It's no brainer. You have to read that.
Right.
But if you want to be influential, you have to read that book, Win Friends and Influence People, books like that. But the book we're reading right now that we're going to do on our book club, it's a book called Social Engineering. This is it's a thick book, but it's really interesting. And I don't know how to say the guy's name, but it's Christopher Hadnagy, I think, Hadnagy. It's called the subtitle is The Art of Human Hacking.
Okay.
So Social Engineering, The Art of Human Hacking. This just goes all back to neurological thinking and how do people think, how do people make decisions? Most decisions that are made are emotional decisions. So if you are a wholesaler and you want someone to accept your low cash offer and not another wholesaler's low cash offer, you need to learn these skills. You have to learn how to talk to people and how to say the right things to where they want to do business with you. Say you have the exact same offer, or maybe your offer is even lower, but they're going to do business with you. They're going to pick you because they like you. And it goes back to a Zig Ziglar quote: people do business with people that they know, like, and trust, but they obviously are going to know you, but they're not going to like you or trust you if you don't know how to talk to them and talk to them in their language.
Right.
So this is important stuff in our business, and it might be a little bit more advanced if you're brand new. I don't necessarily recommend this right off, but if you've done a few deals and you want to try to increase your deal flow, increase your closing percentage, those kinds of things, you got to read Cialdini, Influence, and then we're reading this one right now, Social Engineering. It's
okay. I'm getting both of those books. I haven't read them yet.
Very interesting. So the guy says over and over in the book, because it's about hacking, like computer hackers, how they think, about people like dumpster diving and doing all this stuff to gather information on people. It's like, I'm not teaching you to do this so you go out and do all this for bad purposes. I'm teaching it so you know how to guard against it is how the guy's phrasing it. But he's basically like giving you the whole blueprint on how to hack people and how to hack, stuff. But it's really interesting stuff, and it lets it kind of gives insight into how the human brain works, because we're all human. We all act emotionally. We all make emotional decisions. Any decision, Tony Robbins says this, all decision making is emotional, all of it. So it's all irrational. And if you understand that, and you're a wholesaler, and you know that all decision making is irrational and it's emotional, how can you use that to benefit you?
Right. You're giving some real good key golden nuggets here. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate it so much. But yeah, thanks for being on the podcast. If there's anything I can add value to your life, please let me know, because you've added so much value to my life. Like you said earlier, I feel like I owe you.
So yeah, like the law of reciprocity is like, I've guilted you. So if I ask you to go and buy an $8 book, you'll probably do it.
I will.
So don't do that. But that's kind of the whole point here. And I'm here. I'm so excited for you. It makes me really happy that you're, obviously blowing things up in Richmond. It's very cool. And I know if I'm in Richmond, you're going to treat me to lunch. You're going to like, so like, I know that it's going to come back tenfold. So if not through you, maybe through your megaphone, which is your podcast or your social media. So I'm honored, and I'm honored to be on your show. I'm excited for what you've done and where you're headed.
Okay, well, thank you. I really appreciate that. But yeah, so I'm going to wrap things up now. Thank you for tuning in, guys. Until next time, see ya.